Obviously, there's many strategies and technologies that go into this, so we'll get into a few of those here in the coming slides. Okay, Ricardo? Right, so AI and cybersecurity. Here's the good, and that's Clint Eastwood, pointing the rifle. He's the good guy. Okay, so the main aspects here, I'm gonna touch on the top three, and this is how it's used today in cybersecurity. So the first one is enhanced threat protection. Sorry, enhanced threat detection, and it's nothing more than just AI powered cybersecurity systems. They analyze all different kind of data sets in real time, and the most curious part is that it detects subtle and complex patterns in these cyber threats to be able to make these kind of decisions that humans maybe can't do it as well. So that's the first thing that is out there as far as technology is enhanced threat detection. The next one is proactive threat prevention. And this one's pretty cool because this is now proactive. So now the technology is doing some predictive analysis, right? Understanding some historical data and comparing it to the algorithms that it gathers from the ML portion, as well as human input to determine what could be a threat before it happens to your network or on your computer, et cetera, right? So it's out there kind of on the fringe, on the front end, observing what's happening around the world and trying to determine what that could be a threat and be proactive. All right. And then the third thing is automating a routine task. And I like this because when you're in IT, and let's say that you're a security analyst, or like the company I work for, we do managed security services. So the cool thing is to be able to use automated tasks that are time consuming, that do like log analysis, network monitoring, etc. And what it does is that it frees up our time as humans to take on more strategic and complex tasks. Maybe take those reports and those logs and add our expertise and be a little more analytical, as to not rely on AI to make the ultimate decision. So automating these tasks are really good things that happen in AI on the front end. Okay, can you go next one, Ricardo? Okay, so here's an example of enhanced threat detection. So in my example here, I'll just read it real quick. So imagine an employee working remotely and assessing the company's network from a personal device, which could be anything, right? A laptop, a phone, whatever, right? This employee receives an email with a seemingly harmless attachment. Traditional security measures may not flag it as malicious because the attachment has never been seen before. So the email content doesn't contain any obvious red flags. So what happens is with enhanced threat protection, the first thing it does is it will analyze. So it'll use the machine learning, analyzes the email, attachments, content, structure, behavior, and then it'll recognize patterns that are unusual, suspicious, etc., before they're even known signatures to the specific threat. So first step, analyze. The second step it does is identify, which is here identification. So here what it's doing is identifying the email as a potential phishing attempt. Remember, potential is being proactive, right? So it's basing this on subtle clues that it has learned from analyzing numerous other emails. Again, looking for the patterns. And then the last thing it'll do when it analyzes and identifies, it will alert us. These are people that monitor these things, okay? So it'll raise an alert, allowing the security teams to investigate it further and potentially preventing a cyber attack before it occurs. And there's a lot of software applications that are used by different organizations to put into the environment to help them mitigate these kind of risks. Okay, next one, Ricardo. Okay, I hope I can see that well. Yeah, this is the proactive threat protection. So example is The organization's cybersecurity team regularly monitors various online sources, including cybersecurity forums, threat intelligence feeds, government advisors. So it's out there polling information, right? So they come across information suggesting a new type of malware that specifically targets a vulnerability in a commonly used software application. Okay, so now it's identifying something specific that might attack a particular software. While this vulnerability has not been exploited in the wild yet, the potential for a widespread attack is high. So here's the response that the cybersecurity teams should take, right? The first thing is patch management. So now they're going to go and take a look at that particular software where the threat is the highest and say, okay, is there the latest security patch that I can apply to this software to help mitigate against this risk? So that's like step one. Step two is network segmentation. And what the security team is doing here is basically taking measures to isolate the threat. So if that threat does come through, it's taking a measure to redirect it, and into a part of the network where it will not be a threat to any other environment, any other server, any other application. Okay. Then the third step is monitoring and the alerts. So they set up the continuous monitoring of all the network traffic, right, to attempt to exploit their vulnerability. So these alerts are configured to notify the team immediately if any unusual or potential malicious codes or activities are detected. So, patch management, network segmentation, and then all the monitoring and alert to be ready for it. And then the last thing that they should do, which actually, in my opinion, should be the first thing, is the user education, right? So, letting users know what this threat looks like or could potentially look like and prepare them. So companies should think about today of having some type of security awareness training as part of the curriculum for employees. And when they get onboarded, part of the orientation should be having some type of security training, along with the company having periodic phishing tests, right? So they're going to do a phishing simulation, put it out there into all the employees, and see how the employees react to a potential phishing threat. So, in my view, in my professional view, I think user education should be very high in a company's cybersecurity strategy. Okay, next. And this one again, automating routine tasks. In this example, the organization security team is responsible for monitoring network logs for signs of suspicious activity. So every day, team members spend hours manually reviewing logs and all that kind of stuff, right? Which can lead to human error. So now to automate the process, companies are implementing a security information and event management, a SIM system. And what the SIM does is the items below. It does a log collection. So it collects all these different logs from various sources around the network, including firewalls, servers, endpoints, applications, etc. So it does this polling and brings it into one pane of glass for the security team. Then the security team can do the next step is log analysis. Take a look at all those um, collection of data that has come into their platform, and be able to do different types of analytics, looking for patterns, anomalies that could indicate a potential security threat. And then the third thing is using the SIM to detect something unusual. Again, creating those patterns inside. So it generates automated alerts. So for instance, in this example here, if it identifies a series of failed login attempts from an unfamiliar IP address, it triggers an alert. It's not going to stop it, but it's going to trigger an alert to the analyst. Then you have another item here, which I like a lot, is the automated responses. So in addition to alerting, the SIM can also trigger automated response. So in this example, upon detecting a potential intrusion, it can isolate the affected system from the network, preventing further harm. And that's what I talked about in the prior slide about, finding it and isolating it, and taking the threat away from the network so that it can be addressed later. And the last item is what everybody wants to have is good reporting. So these can be used to summarize all the events, trends, threats, etc., that have happened in the network. So then they can take that in, internally, and then compare that to any compliance that they have to meet or any auditing purposes. That will help them mitigate these risks and set up a good security roadmap. Next one. You get next there, Ricardo? Oh, there it goes. Yeah, awesome. And then these are a bunch of other good reasons. I won't get into each one specifically, but this is all the good about AI, right? So you can have rapid incident response. You can improve your user authentication. Obviously, you have a lot of scalability because of the, not having to rely so much time on humans to be involved in the process. Adaptive defenses, reduce workload. Again, helping humans out. The threat intelligence, sitting out there on the network, outside the network, and seeing what potential threats are. And then obviously at the end, the cost efficiency. So it may cost a little bit at the beginning to invest in these tools and software, but at the end, it'll alleviate the human side having to deal with all of these things and can be more analytical, as a result of any reports and alerts that come from the system. So that's all the good stuff, Ricardo. Next one. And then there's this bad guy over here, right? So this is the bad about cybersecurity. Okay, the one thing that is always out there is all the vulnerabilities and attacks, right? Adversaries may exploit weaknesses in AI algorithms. Remember, all this AI is being developed by humans, so if they can inject any algorithm or any type of programming into the AI, it can lead to, like I said, your adversarial attacks or data poisoning, as they call it, which can compromise security systems. So they have to be very careful about the vulnerabilities with AI. The next one is bias and discrimination, which we know, people that develop these AI applications, they're coming at it from their point of view, just like myself, Ricardo, Rodrigo, Kareem, and all of us here, we're all going to have our input as to what the AI algorithm should look like. So therefore, there's a potential for bias and discrimination across anything that is AI, including Chat GPT that we all use today. And the third thing that is bad is the over reliance on AI. All right. So relying too heavily can lead to complacency among the professionals. Say, hey, just leave it to AI. It'll solve it. We're good. And that's not going to be a good situation. So, having human oversight and decision making is really important to mitigate all these different kind of attacks. So those are the top three of the bad in cybersecurity. Next slide, Ricardo. Right. So other reasons are obviously the ethical concerns that I just kind of touched on briefly, about the potential for mass surveillance, and the invasion of individuals' privacy, and that's happening already today. And the next one is all the complexity that goes on with deploying these type of technologies. There are false positives. So AI is not immune, to these kind of things. So it may say, yeah, this is a threat, and then it may not be, or may say, no, this is not a threat, and then it is, because it's all based on algorithms, and they can, they're not fail proof. Okay. Adaptation by adversaries. This is where the cyber criminals are getting really smart in adapting to what the good guys are trying to do to mitigate. So it's the proverbial cat and mouse, right? We're all like chasing it. The good guy is trying to stay ahead of the game, and the bad guy is trying to up the game, and it's just a cat and mouse that goes on, not only in AI but obviously in cybersecurity, in general. Um, Lack of explainability, obviously, making having AI make a decision and not really knowing why. It just made a decision because, hey, this is the algorithm, so you can't hold AI accountable for any type of decision it made because it's just doing it based on algorithm. Which is why comes to the next thing about humans. We need to be involved in the final decision on anything happening with the AI cybersecurity. And the human skill gap, that's going to continue to exist. There's a lot of demand for AI, for cybersecurity, etc., and there just isn't enough skilled people to handle what is already in place and what's coming down the pike here in the very, very near future. So those that are looking to get into this field, this is the right time to jump in. Ricardo, next. And then there's the ugly guy. So this is the ugly part of cybersecurity, especially with AI and all the challenges, risks that can emerge when it is all misused and mishandled in this realm. Okay, so the first thing is the catastrophic failures. Okay, systems are not infallible. I mean, this is any system, whether it's your mouse or anything else that you use, anything can fail. So, and in AI and cyber, it could be pretty catastrophic if these do not live up to what the expectation is in trying to find cyber threats out there in the network. The next one is the ugly is the escalation in the cyber arms race, and it's not so much with the cyber criminals doing all their work. The arms race is also nations against nations, and we're all spying on each other and trying to leverage some technology to give us an edge. So this is just spiraling out of control, and why I think you may have heard, probably earlier in the year, Elon Musk and others trying to put the kind of like the brakes and slow down on AI, because the potential of AI is immense, but the risk of it going, taking a massive left turn is even bigger, and all the bad guys, they want to make that left turn. So that's the struggle that's going on today with cyber. And the last one here on the top three is the job displacement, economic disruption, which obviously cyber attacks. That's what they're all designed to do, is to create some bad economic consequences, which of course impact our livelihoods. So cybersecurity professionals, you know, maybe fear that this technology is going to replace many of those roles. And I've even seen, having talked to some agile teams here, on these calls in the past about the fear of AI replacing a lot of what we do in our regular life. Programmers thinking, "Wow, they're gonna, if you can develop code, why do you need a programmer?" Then you look over in Hollywood, right? The whole Hollywood writers strike is because they're complaining that, wait a minute, if AI can write a script, then why do you need us to be the script writers? So again, AI is being very disruptive right now, and people are fearing that their jobs could potentially be in peril if AI continues to evolve like it's going today, right? And I think somebody asked about the presentation, and yes, I can make that available. Ricardo has it, so we can talk about that afterward. Next slide, Ricardo. Okay, so more additional reasons of the ugly part of AI and cyber. Obviously, the legal and regulatory challenges of keeping pace with how this advances, and then aligning that with regulations, protecting individual rights, etc., is a huge challenge. Privacy concerns, like I mentioned, people's information is out there on the internet. Social engineering is happening on a constant basis. They can find information about me by just searching on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and many other sources, and they can gather information that maybe shouldn't be out there, but that's a privacy concern. AI is smart enough to figure out what it needs to pull about each of us, and that's a big risk. That's an ugly risk. The next one is, responsibility and accountability, right? So AI systems are making decisions, right? And sometimes they could be the consequences are unintended, but they can create harm. So that's a big risk. And then the ultimate question is, well, who is to blame if AI makes that decision? So if there's no blame on it, then there's no liability, and that's where this is an issue. Then obviously the ethical dilemmas with AI that we just touched on, and international cooperation. Every country, every entity has a different view about how AI is being developed in their countries and what the priorities are. Some don't see it as a big deal, and other countries, may think of it as a big deal. So we don't have a unilateral agreement or decision or a standard as to how this rolls. So that's the international cooperation is a big ugly here, and obviously the security risk of AI development where malicious actors attempt to compromise AI systems. That's happening all the time, especially during their development and deployment. So they're putting in there, if they can kind of figure out how to hack it and put in some of their code, they can affect the vulnerabilities and stuff, and then create some risk for us all. So that's a lot of the ugly right there. So next, Ricardo. And I wanted to point out some things that are happening in AI cybersecurity in the news. This is one that came out recently about the Biden-Harris administration announcing it secured a second round of voluntary safety commitments from 8 prominent AI companies, and they're all mentioned here: Adobe, Cohere, IBM, NVIDIA. You can read them there: Palantir, Salesforce, etc. So the whole idea is that they're pledging to kind of play together and have a pivotal role in promoting the development of safe, secure, and trustworthy AI. Okay, these are the good guys trying to do it the right way. Okay, next, Ricardo. Another piece in the news here is a survey by GitLab that sheds light on the views of developers on the landscape of AI in software development. So the report is titled, the state of AI in software development, and it presents some insight from our 1,000 global senior technology executive developers and security operations. So it just reveals the complex relationship, around many topics, including the data privacy, intellectual privacy, and security. So all these things are obviously at a high risk. So just beware out there. Next item there, Ricardo. Next slide. And this is another piece in the news. A group of researchers from Microsoft and 7 global leading universities have conducted an industry study into the threat offensive AI is posing to organizations. So what they're saying is that these researchers study into offensive AI. How do you call this? Use research into the subject in addition to responses from organizations including Airbus, Huawei, and IBM. So just beware. Watch the news, Google these things, and stay on top. Next, Ricardo. And lastly, this one I found the coolest. It's called SkyGrid. It's a joint venture between Boeing and Spark Cognition. So they launched the world's first AI-powered security for drones. I don't know about you guys, but this is a little bit scary. Kind of reminds me of watching the Terminator movies from back in the day. So you know, this is just another piece of news out there how technology is being used at the drone level, right? Carrying, it has a good part, right? Carrying vital medical supplies and providing some surveillance, but end of the day, I just feel like it's like Big Brother being, too big. But here we go with technology, right? And the last one, there's next one, Ricardo, right? So closing comments, the good aspects of AI and cybersecurity demonstrates, the remarkable potential for threat detection, prevention, all the measures that we can take to protect our networks and our livelihoods. The bad portion of this talks about the issues we have around vulnerabilities and challenges that come with AI, including all the system attacks, biases, over reliance, ethical concerns, and more, right? And the last one is the ugly, which serves as a reminder that being responsible for AI use. So there's catastrophic failures, escalating arms race that we talked about there, job displacement. Those are the ugly parts of AI. So the good, the bad, and the ugly are all here when we have to live with it because it's going to be a part of our lives going forward. And next one, Ricardo. Right. So that's it on my end. I want to thank everybody. This is my contact information, who I work for, Telephonic Attack. We provide managed security services to address a lot of these risks that companies want to mitigate against. And we have AI technology in our platforms in cybersecurity to help people. So if I could be of any help to anybody, there's my contact information, my phone number, my website there for the company. And I don't have my LinkedIn profile, but I can put it here in chat if anybody wants to connect with me and follow me as I post every day on LinkedIn on cybersecurity topics. Right. So that's the end of what I wanted to present. So I want to open up to any questions, comments. I think somebody asked about the presentation. Let's see. I'm looking in the chat windows. Yeah, for Kareem, yes, I can get you that copy. I think Rodrigo had to leave, so I'm gonna send him out there as well. So yeah, guys, if you want the presentation, I'll be glad to have Ricardo again get that out to them. There's no privacy statement there, so feel free, Ricardo, to share that with anybody who would like a copy of that. And like I said, everybody has my information there, email, phone number. Reach out if you want to ask something, or the company that you work for, maybe you're looking for some type of cybersecurity solutions. Reach out to me. I have 40 years of experience in IT, 15 plus in cyber, so I'll be glad to help any way I can.
Of course, Henry. We'll upload it to the website once we upload it along with the recording that we just started.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, I think you started. I think you're probably a couple slides in, but
Yeah.
I think we got most of it.
Okay, Henry, have a question from Heydrich. He says, if you're using a third-party vendor to implement AI, what is the best way to add on the contract that the organization will have control over what data is collected and shared with the organization?
So, if you're using a third-party vendor to implement AI, what is the best way to add on the contract? The organization will have control over what data is collected with the organization. So when it's AI in cybersecurity, really there's the data that is collected is nothing more than logs. So when the tool identifies a risk or vulnerability, it records that as into the logs, and then we get a report on that. So then we'll provide the organization with, hey, this is a report of the vulnerabilities and risks that we identified and we took measures against your network. um, as far as data itself, like data where we store files, that's a different conversation because it's not AI. and cybersecurity as far as protecting a network is not really at the data level. Although if there is any type of penetration into the network, okay, we have systems that detect a penetration. We can then do some forensics work to understand if any data was attacked and removed. But in the contracts, that's typically all spelled out. We're not responsible for the data, but the systems are there to prevent the cyber criminals from getting to your data. Ultimately, that's what they want. Um, Hydrich, they want to get to the data, so they try to hack, phish, do whatever they can to get in, and ultimately they want that data from that company. It could be they want credit cards, they want files, they want names, they want social security numbers, credit cards. We don't know, but there is other technologies to encrypt data. So not only are we working here on the front end from cybersecurity, on the back end, companies should have measures to encrypt data. So in case there is a penetration, the hackers can't grab their data. So that's the answer on that one. Any other questions that I can help with? I'll put in here my LinkedIn too. Anybody wants to connect there. Right. I mean, I that's the end of my spiel. So I thank you all for coming again. And thank you, Ricardo, and the Transformation Experts team for having me again. I look forward to my next cycle here whenever they invite me back.
Thank you, Henry.
Guys, thank you, Henry. Come on, everybody, let's give him a big virtual applause. Henry, the man of the
Thank you,
hour.
guys. Thank you, everybody, for taking time to listen today. Very important topic. So I appreciate all your support and efforts.
And we look forward to seeing you next week as part of the AI conference. Which
Yeah,
panel
that's
did
gonna be
you
in
say you're hosting?
that's gonna be in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, 2 weeks, right? October 6th. Oh, well, I'm just
October
so eager for it to happen.
Yeah, October 6th will be the AI conference, and it'll be a lot of people. It's like, I don't know, 12 or something speakers throughout the day. I don't know, and then I have a slide at 3 o'clock Eastern time, and I'm gonna have a panel of three really smart people. So I'm gonna ask questions, and then at the end we'll have like a 15-minute Q&A, because these people, when you see them, these are the rock stars, right? I'm just compared to them, I'm the little guy, I'm the little quarterback, but these guys are they are the rock stars. So you get to meet them if you guys can attend that event.
So, guys, make sure to chime in. If you don't have your tickets yet, you can get them on Eventbrite on the link I'm dropping on the chat right now.